So, when you think of New Zealand, what pops into your head? Probably stunning landscapes, right? A super relaxed lifestyle? Maybe. A land of opportunity. For decades, that's been the brand. But here's the thing. For thousands of Kiwis looking for work right now, the reality is a world away from that dream. Let's break down what's really going on.
And hey, it's true. I mean, that perception is idyllic for a good reason. New Zealand consistently gets top marks for things like health, community, and safety. It's seen as this amazing place with a high quality of life, super friendly locals, and great prospects. It's the dream that's been sold to the world. But what happens when that dream slams into the reality on the ground? Take a look at this number, 1,200. You know what that is? That's how many applications one recruitment agency got for a single admin role. And get this, it was in just 2 days. So yeah, this isn't a story about the dream anymore. This is a story about the tough reality of New Zealand's job market in 2025.
So that brings us to the first big question we've got to ask. Is New Zealand still that land of opportunity it's so famous for? Let's start by looking at the official picture.
Okay, so the brochure version of New Zealand. It is still incredibly appealing. I mean, 10th in the world for quality of life, second safest country, the median salary looks pretty solid, and yeah, if you're a nurse or a web developer or an electrician, there are definitely still jobs out there for you. It all sounds pretty great, right? But these stats just don't tell the whole story.
Because behind those numbers, there's a real human cost. Take this quote from a woman named Jean. She's in her 30s, just finished an honors degree, to upskill and change a career. But after pouring her heart into tailoring her CV and cover letter for countless applications, this is how the process has left her feeling. You can see there's a huge disconnect between the official picture and what people are actually going through.
And that disconnect really gets to the heart of our second point. This is basically a tale of two different job markets. There's the one that's advertised to the world, and then there's the one people are actually living through every single day.
So on the one hand, you've got this promise of great job prospects. But on the other hand, you have the general manager of a major recruitment agency calling this the longest, deepest, slowest market they've seen since 2005. They're even saying it's worse than the downturn after the 2008 global financial crisis. That's a huge statement.
And the impact of that reality is just profound. This quote from that same recruiter, Angela Singleton, it's just heartbreaking. She says they have people crying in their offices every day. And it's not just affecting young graduates. It's hitting people at all ages and stages of their careers. The emotional toll is absolutely immense.
And you know what? The official data is really starting to back up this emotional toll. For the September quarter of 2025, New Zealand's unemployment rate hit 5.3%. Just to put that in perspective, that is the highest it has been in nearly 9 years.
Okay, so what is going on here? How on earth did New Zealand get to this point? Let's take a minute to really decode the reasons behind this whole economic downturn.
To really get how we got here, I absolutely love this analogy from economist Brad Olson. He describes New Zealand's post-pandemic economy as a rock star that maybe partied a little too hard. And now? Well, now it's the morning after, and it's got a serious headache.
So in simple terms, the economy became overheated after the pandemic. That just means growth was happening way too fast, which caused inflation to spike. So to cool everything down, the Reserve Bank had to step in and raise interest rates. The idea was to get people and businesses to spend less. But the big unintended consequence was that businesses also slammed the brakes on hiring, and a lot of them started making people redundant.
The challenge now is that the economy is basically trying to find a new, stable baseline after coming down from what another economist called an economic Mountain Everest. That peak was so high and so unsustainable that the journey back down to whatever this new normal is feels like a total freefall for a lot of people.
But here's the catch. This downturn isn't hitting everyone in the same way. Not at all. There's a huge divide depending on who you are, where you live, and what industry you're in. And that divide, it starts right at the top. On one side, you've got Prime Minister Christopher Luxon, who's saying there are plenty of jobs out there, especially in areas like horticulture, and that young people just need to get out and find them. But on the other side, you have recruiters on the ground who report that job availability has plummeted by up to 70%. And they say that moving across the country for a short-term contract, well, that's just not realistic for most people.
This divide is also geographic. I mean, just look at the split between these regions. If you're looking for a job in a big urban center like Auckland, you're facing a really tough unemployment rate of 6.1%. But if you head down to the Otago region in the South Island, it's a completely different story at just 3%. Right now, location is everything.
And you see that exact same divide between industries. The construction sector, which was absolutely booming, has shed nearly 18,500 jobs since 2023. But at the exact same time, there's still high demand for healthcare workers, for tech developers, and for skilled tradespeople like plumbers and electricians. It's a very, very uneven landscape out there.
So, where does New Zealand go from here? This brings us to the final and maybe the most crucial question. Is the country on the verge of a recovery, what some call green shoots, or is it heading for a full-blown brain drain?
Well, the optimistic view, which is shared by the government, points to these green shoots of recovery, things like rising business confidence. They argue that unemployment is a lagging indicator, meaning it's always the last thing to improve. But the pessimistic view sees something far more worrying, a brain drain. Recruiters are literally watching highly skilled, experienced workers pack up and leave the country, while surveys show just massive dissatisfaction with pay.
And this is just staggering. According to a 2025 Robert Walters salary survey, 2/3 of New Zealand employees are planning to move overseas. Think about that. That's not just new graduates. That is the experienced muscle of the entire workforce seriously considering leaving.
So where are they all planning to go? Well, while the destinations are varied, there is one country that really stands out. Of those looking to relocate, a massive 42% are looking directly across the Tasman Sea, to Australia.
And this quote from Jean, the job seeker we met earlier, she just cuts right to the chase. She says there are a ton of jobs in Australia that pay something like 30 grand more a year. The pull is simple and it is powerful. More jobs and significantly more money. And for a lot of people, that's an opportunity that's just too good to ignore.
And all of this brings New Zealand to a really critical crossroads. As businesses eventually start to look to hire again, are they going to face a skill shortage because they just can't find the right people? Or will they find that those people have already left, turning a temporary downturn into a long-term talent exodus? That, right there, is the defining question for the country's future.